Welcome to Michigan in Focus, powered by thecentersquare.com. This episode features a piece by Center Square Michigan reporter Scott McClellan, headlined, quote, "Michigan lawmakers sue to overturn election changes," end quote. Here's the story. 11 Michigan Republican lawmakers filed a federal lawsuit challenging election changes voters approved in 2018 and 2022. Filed in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Michigan, the plaintiffs say election officials violated state legislators' rights because the U.S. Constitution and the Michigan Constitution require state legislatures to regulate the times, places, and manner of federal elections. Attorney Eric Cardall, a partner of Mofferman, Cardall, and Erickson, said in a press conference, quote, "Michigan state election officials committed horrible violations of state legislators' federal rights in 2018 and 2022 and continue to do so. Now, the Michigan Constitution contains federal elections, regulations that are monuments to civil rights violations. We will need help from the federal courts to clean up the mess that the election officials created," end quote. The lawsuit says Proposal 2 of 2022 and Proposal 3 of 2018 constitutional amendments regulating the times, places, and manner of federal elections are legally null and void. Senator Jonathan Lindsay, a Republican from Allen, said, quote, "We also have procedures in place at the state level to amend election law. However, these processes were violated in 2018 and 2022 when an alternative amendment process was used without regard to federal constitutional requirements. This lawsuit challenges recent attempts to subvert our constitutional process and will protect against such actions in the future," end quote. The suit names Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson and Michigan Elections Director Jonathan Brader as defendants. The Michigan Department of State said it can't comment on pending litigation. Amber McCann, the spokeswoman for House Speaker Joe Tate, a Democrat from Detroit, said the lawsuit is shameful. McCann wrote in an email to the Center Square, quote, "The lawsuit is a direct attack on the voters of Michigan and seeks to undermine the will of the people. Republicans in the state legislature have partnered with the same Minnesota law firm that sought to prevent electoral votes from being counted in 2020. It's shameful," end quote. Plaintiffs are Senator Jim Runestad of White Lake, Representative Steve Carra of Three Rivers, James DeSana of Carlton, Joseph Fox of Fremont, Neil Frisk of Charlevoix, Matt Maddock of Milford, Brad Poquette of Niles, Angela Rigas of Caledonia, Joshua Shriver of Oxford, and Rochelle Smith of Martin. Carra said the approved expensive changes include 9 days of early voting, allowing voters to sign affidavits instead of presenting valid identification when voting in person or applying for an absentee ballot, same-day voter registrations, and state-funded absentee ballot drop boxes. Carra said in a statement, quote, "The founders of this great republic put regulating elections into the hands of the state legislatures, so changes to the election process will undergo a deliberative and thoughtful process by the people's elected representatives," end quote. Lawsuit sponsors Michigan Fair Elections, and the Great Lakes Justice Center are Michigan-based, nonprofit 501c3 organizations. Lindsay said, quote, "The courts need to decide these important legal questions. The people of Michigan are entitled to an answer on the scope and limitations of Article 12, Section 2 amendment by petition, especially as it relates to the responsibilities granted to the state legislatures by the United States Constitution. I am honored to play a role in this effort to restore the rule of law in Michigan," end quote. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com. This podcast was made with the assistance of AI technology. Please subscribe, and thanks for listening.